The third thing is this: good carpenter and good leaders will consider the cost before the work begins. Jesus never downplayed the cost in following him. He never sugarcoated it. Even when the crowds came, could you imagine like having hundreds, thousands of people listening to you? It might be kind of tempting to sugarcoat it, right? To get as many people as you can to follow you. Jesus did the opposite. He said, if you're going to follow me, it's going to cost you everything. Everything. But that challenge didn't send people away. No, it drew them in because they had never heard a message like that before. There's a story where Jesus tells a parable, and he says, if you're going to follow me, you need to count the cost. Like, think about the person that's going to build a tower. Wouldn't you count the cost to make sure you can afford it before you start building? How many of you know, but nobody wants to be the dummy, the neighbor in the block that you build a tower and you got halfway up and you're like, out of money. Can't finish it now. Forever shame. They're going to start calling you things like half tower. You know, like, no, you got to count the cost. Mike and I started a kitchen renovation earlier in the year, and the first thing we did was figure out what we wanted to do. The second thing was we had to count the cost. We had to figure out how much is it going to cost for counters? How much are these cabinets going? What can we afford? What can't we afford? In hindsight, we didn't count high enough. But that's usually how it goes with home renovation projects. But we have to count the cost. When the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to Jesus, knelt before him, and said, I want my sons to sit at your right and your left hand. You know what Jesus said to her and to her sons? He said, you don't know what you are asking. And then he said, can you drink the cup I am going to drink? See, Jesus knew that his life was going to end with his hands hanging on a cross. And he said to them, you don't know what you're asking. Can you carry this burden? Can you drink this cup? Can you pay this price? Church, we have to count the cost of what it means to follow him. It's not all fluff. It's not all rainbows and fairy tales, and there's a work we have to do. To be a servant leader, we have to begin to realize that we can't ask someone to do something that we aren't willing to do. Amen? Last night when Mike and Adeline got home from the trip, they were kind of telling me about some of the things that they did, and Adeline made a comment. She said, you know, Mom, it was kind of funny. I noticed we would have these different volunteer assignments, and Dad always took the job that he thought no one else would want. So when the kids were in VBS with all of them, he was doing hallway monitoring, or when they were in the kitchen duty, he was mopping the floors, and it made me so proud to hear that. But that's how we were taught. That's how we were trained in ministry. Never ask someone to do something you aren't willing to do. On Monday mornings, I come into the office, and, you know, there's just that one little bathroom outside the hallway, and many Mondays when I come in, I'll go into the bathroom, and there'll be a toilet clogged in the women's bathroom. And, you know, I usually will unclog it and do what has to get done and whatever. But a few weeks ago, I was in the bathroom. I saw there was a toilet clogged, and I just was like, I don't feel like doing this today. I'll do it later. It'll still be there later. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't see it. How many of you know there are things that you do? Like, I'm just going to pretend I don't see this thing in my house that I don't want to deal with right now. I'm like, I'm just going to pretend like I didn't see that clogged toilet. Went into my office. I'm getting work done. Later that day, Elsa, our office manager, who was doing a phenomenal job, by the way, she came into my office and said, we were talking about some other things, and she had kind of a list, and she said, hey, do you think there's maybe like a different toilet paper we should start getting? Because that, you know, something that might be better on the septic system, because that toilet is always clogged. She's like, you know, I unclogged it today, but there's so many times I have to unclog that toilet. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't tell you this at the time because I knew that toilet was clogged. But I pretended like I didn't see it. But let me tell you, since that conversation, whenever I see the clogged toilet now, I take care of it. Why? Why? Because I want to lead with a servant's heart. I don't want to ever ask someone to do something that I'm not willing to do.